Hello, this is Messy Stitcher, Vicky here. I'm so sorry, first of all, for how long it's taken me to do a video. I think it's been something like 5 weeks since my last one. I cannot tell you how busy things have been in the last month or so. There's been loads going on. And I wanted to do a video when I was in a position, firstly, to give you sort of a proper update, because I'd been so busy with other things. What happened was I didn't have much to say about my stitching for a while, which is a shame because I wanted to. I just didn't get any time to do anything. And I just, and I thought when the time comes I can make kind of a really big video, so that I guess the warning's out there that this is probably going to be some really long video, I would imagine, because I've got a few things to update you on. Actually not all stitching related, but obviously I will be talking about cross stitching as usual. So obviously if you don't feel like watching an hour video, that's absolutely fine. Big thank you again to anybody that subscribed or commented in the meantime. I'm still having a real issue actually with YouTube notifications, and it's really bugging me, and I don't know if anybody else has this. So when I log on to YouTube, there's there's a notifications, which is really a Google Plus notifications thing in the corner. And it will say, like, if somebody's messaged me or commented me and I haven't checked yet, it will say, I don't know, 2 or 3, and I'll click on it and it will have kind of a list of all of the comments. And so I'll click on one of them and I'll go and have a look. But if I want to get to a bit like Facebook, where you can literally look at a whole list of previous comments and things like that, it doesn't seem to be a way of doing that. It seems to, once it thinks you've read something, almost delete it off a list, and then there's no kind of traceability of things. Because obviously with apps on my phone and things, sometimes I just accidentally, it might look like I've read something, but I haven't properly looked at it. And it just seems to lose things. And then sort of a couple of weeks later, when I've got more time and I want to read through and I want to kind of comment on things, the only way I have of finding stuff is if I go to each and every one of my videos and check if somebody's commented and then comment back. And it just seems like it should be a lot simpler than that. I've been looking online a little bit about YouTube, because I used to think that some of this was me just being not great with that kind of stuff in general, but I do think there are a few issues and errors with the YouTube website which make it really difficult for people, and unnecessarily difficult. There's not a straightforward option for checking your messages. Quite a few people I know have found it very confusing to just send a message. It's also really difficult to send a message out to all of your subscribers. Because I wanted to send a message a couple of weeks ago to say, sorry about the lack of videos, guys, there will be one soon. And it was just so fiddly, and I couldn't find any straight answer online as to how to do it properly, that I just gave up. And I know I'm not the only one, because there's been lots of people kind of posting in forums. I don't know what all of that is about, and I wonder whether any of you guys have some of the same issues with YouTube. I don't know, but it's really, really annoying, and it means that it's really hard for me to keep track of who's commented. And that, combined with me being quite rubbish when I'm busy at replying to people, it just makes it look as though I'm not interested in what you have to say, and I really am. It's just really hard for me to track it. So bear with me if it seems like I've kind of ignored a message or not replied to you. It's just, it just seems to be ridiculously difficult just to get that information off YouTube. You can look at it once, and then when it's gone, it seems to be gone. But anyway, that's my little moan about YouTube. I'm sure I won't be the only person that it's been affecting. So what's new with me? There's quite a lot new with me, to be honest. If I start with life stuff, and then I'm going to move on to stitching. So the reason why I've been so busy the last few weeks has been a combination of things. I think I've mentioned in other videos, it's really that time. I mean, I'm 27 now, and it's really that time when a lot of my friends are getting married, having babies. I always think with people having babies, there tends to be an explosion all at once, and absolutely everybody has them at the same time, and it all seems to happen. But that's not really a coincidence. I think it's because of the age bracket that I'm in. It's just kind of the natural age, I think, that people are doing that stuff. But it does mean I've been to lots of kind of engagement parties, hen parties, baby showers, christenings. It does seem ridiculous how many I've been to. They've been really, really lovely. But very occasionally I think, it just seems a bit much, and it's been a very expensive month as well. It doesn't, I don't think of things like that, and it's been a really, really great year with lots of memories, lots of fresh starts with my friends to remember. But it has been a bit much over the last few weeks, and I've not had really any time to myself this last month, which is quite difficult for me because I need quite a lot of time on my own as a person. But I certainly don't want that to take away from how great it was to see my friends' babies and get to know them and everything. But I'm hoping the next month is more about me and Adam, my partner, kind of doing what we want to do the next month or so. My best friend's getting married in Kefalonia in Greece at the end of July, and we'll be going in kind of 2.5 weeks. We'll be going out there for just about nearly a week, about 5-6 days, which will be really nice. Been doing a lot of planning for that because there's quite a lot of, because I'm a bridesmaid for her, there's quite a lot of stuff to do around that as well. Organising kind of brooches for the dress and shoes and how we're going to have our hair and makeup and travel arrangements and all kinds of things, so it's really been full on. And then on top of that, I had my birthday yesterday, which was really, really good. I'm actually going to show you my birthday presents because I was really, really lucky and I got loads and loads of stuff, so I'm really, really happy. My mum, I keep telling her that now I'm nearly 30, she really doesn't need to do all this, but she's always been really big on kind of birthdays and Christmas. And I know whatever I say that she's going to do that anyway. So she's really spoilt me this year. She made me a really lovely cake. I'm going to try and show you. On my phone is probably the best way of doing this. Let's have a look. There we go. So she made it look like kind of a teacup cake, if you see what I mean. So she did this kind of sugar work roses. She put lots of Thornton's chocolates on the top and a lovely like fondant icing. So yeah, I was really, really happy. My boss made me a cake as well, which I wasn't expecting. So it's really funny actually, because the older I get, the less, you know, obviously the less I expect. I'm not, you know, presents are lovely, but I'm just as pleased to just spend time with family. So I'm always really, really grateful. But as I say, my mum would do it anyway, and I know she would, so there's not much I can do to stop her. But yeah, so I just make sure I really appreciate the presents, and I've got loads and loads. My boyfriend got me loads of really nice stuff as well, so I'm going to show you my presents. So the plan for this video, I'm going to show you what I got for my birthday. In a second, I'm going to show you the small amount of progress that I've made on my stitching. And then there's a stitcher tag video that it's probably quite old now. I've been really trying to play catch up with videos, and I watched a video of Carolyn Mazzio's, which I think may be a few weeks old, and by this point probably loads of people have done this tag and I'm the last one to do it. But I'm going to finish off with that because it's got some really interesting questions about stitching style. So a little bit of a mix of different things at the moment. At the moment, as I said, my stitching hasn't been, I feel really sad actually about it, because it's when I am feeling quite stressed and when there's loads and loads of stuff going on, stitching's one of the things I really use to relax with, and it just hasn't really been any time for me to spend on it. I did have one weekend a couple of weeks ago where I did get a Saturday to myself, and I actually managed to get a lot done because I pretty much just sat the whole day doing it, which is why I got through so much. It might not seem that much progress to you guys, because I'm aware compared to a lot of people's standards on YouTube, this is probably not very much. So just to remind you, I'm doing Royal Holiday by Mirabilia, and that is the finished design, how it should look. I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier in one of my other videos that I'm getting a bit concerned about the space I've got left on my linen, but I think it's just a bit of an optical illusion. I'll show you what I mean. So I have done, it's a really big piece of linen, but I have done the majority. I've done the candle, if the light's not great here at all, I've done the candle, and I have done the arm. It's coming out in a tiny, I don't know if you can even see those stitches at the bottom there, but tiny amount of stitches of her dress. I don't feel like, if that's as big as the arm is, that I've got enough space around here to do all of the dress, the bustle of her dress and everything. To me, I feel like I'm going to run out, but I ordered it from a website that, you know, cuts the fabric to the size of the design. So unless I'm doing something really wrong, it will probably work out. sorry, so that wasn't really a very good look. Maybe if I show you the kind of the particular section, again, messy as usual. So you can probably see it slightly better this way. So why is it so wonky? So yeah, so I've been concentrating on getting that section done. I've just got a little bit up the top. Oh no, I thought I had a bit up the top at the candle, but it's just the colour of it that's hiding. So it's actually looking quite cool, quite realistic. My next thing is probably that I think I'm going to try and get kind of the head portion done. So I'm going to try and work upwards, and then I'm going to come back down and start doing the yellow and gold on the dress, and then kind of probably finish up with the cloak. So in terms of it being a Christmas project, at the moment I don't feel too pessimistic about it. It's one of those things, I don't consider it a difficult stitch. It's quite, I feel like there aren't lots of fiddly things about it. I think part of that is because I haven't bought some of the speciality threads I'm going to be using later on. And I haven't bought the beads or started doing the beading, because I'll do that at the end. So for the moment it seems quite straightforward, but I'm aware that it could probably get more complicated as it goes along, but for the moment it's fine. To be honest, I haven't even got out my Disney Dreams collection, because I don't have anything to show you that's new on that. I always used to be somebody that used to have loads of stuff going on, and that's why I never finished anything, but the last couple of projects have shown me the real need, for me, not for anybody else, but I think for me to kind of stick at what I'm doing for a while. I don't think that means only having one project ever at a time, because I consider my 2 WIPs at the moment to be Disney and Mirabilia. But while I've got the momentum for Mirabilia, I want to try and get as much done as I can, because it's one that I'm doing for a particular time. And then I think when I run out of steam and when I naturally lose a little bit of interest, you know how it is when you've been stitching on the same thing for a while and you're thinking, okay, I'm a little bit bored of this at the moment, I'll then switch over to Disney, which is a really different design. So I'm trying not to get involved in too many other projects or anything at the moment, because I do have limited time and I want to use the time I've got to work on a project that's really interesting. So I'm trying to commit to kind of getting it done more than anything, because I really do want to give that to my mum for Christmas. I know she'll really like that design, so that's my goal. Whether or not it happens, I don't know, because I think it's very easy sitting here on the 5th of July to say yes. You know, definitely going to get it done. I've got 5 months, but actually that time will go really quickly. Obviously we'll be hopefully moving house at some point. Finally, I feel like I've been going on about that for months, because I have. So we're going to have a lot to do towards the end of the year, and I'm conscious that my stitching time is probably going to go out of the window, possibly for 2 or 3 months. So I need to try and get as much done as I can before mayhem breaks loose. So we will see. Oh, I'm having problems with my screen. 1 second. That's it. God, that's so weird, this laptop. Okay, so before I go on to the stitching tag, I thought I would show you what I got for my birthday. So I went to the seaside for a day. I didn't have a lot of money this year to do anything really extravagant, and I don't generally like going out drinking and stuff like that. So what I did instead is me and my brothers and sisters went to the seaside, and we sort of did some, I wouldn't call it sunbathing, but we just kind of slobbed about on the beach, did a bit of sort of swimming and paddling. Then we went on the rides, then we went on the arcades, had something to eat, and then went home. But it was a really long day and it was really nice. I do feel really tired because we did a lot of walking yesterday, because as usual you couldn't park anywhere near the seaside by the time we got there. So we had to do a lot of walking, but it was a really good day. And I felt glad the last couple of birthdays that I've actually done something. Because I think I tend to be quite lazy with this stuff, and I don't do anything, and then I think, oh, you know, that's a birthday that's passed me by where I didn't. So I feel glad, and I feel like I've got a memory and an experience when I wouldn't have done, so that's good. So without further ado, I will show you what I got. It's all a bit random. There's some stitchy things in there, not loads, but there is some. So this is my birthday stash. So first of all, my mum got me these lovely sandals, which are going to be really handy for my holiday, because I don't really have anything that's not really worn out by now. So I really like them. They're sort of, it's not showing up very well, but they're like a kind of coppery colour. So looking forward to them. You'll notice that I have really big feet. I mean, when I look at the camera, I think, oh my God, that looks huge. I'm a UK size 7, which I think is like a US size 9. So yeah, they look big, and I can't always believe that my feet are that big, but they are. So the next stuff is kind of DVDs and things. So I don't know if any of you watch this, but I've got Sons of Anarchy, season 1 to 5. I borrowed this from my brother kind of about a year ago, and I really liked it, but it was one of those things where I borrowed the DVD of him and I didn't really get time to watch it, and it was hanging around, and I thought, oh, I better give it back to him. But I knew I would really like it, so I put it on my birthday list, and my boyfriend got me the whole sort of first 5 seasons of it. So I will be watching, probably starting to watch that some point this week. I got Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, classic film that I wanted. A lot of these things I put on a birthday list, and I was very lucky. My grandma got me that. I asked for Robin Williams DVDs because I love Robin Williams. Angriest Man in Brooklyn, which isn't a film that I've actually heard of, but it sounds really good. So I'll be looking forward to watching that. Another thing my boyfriend bought me is the first season of True Detective. It's not I'm not usually massively into detective series. Apart, the one exception has been Special Victims Unit, Law and Order. But this I've heard really, really good reviews about, and everyone I know that's watched it has said how brilliant it is. And I'm a really big fan of both Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, so I'm looking forward to watching that, and I'll give you a verdict when I've got round to it. I got, again, Robin Williams. I got his Weapons of Self-Destruction tour video, which is cool. So we're watching that. I've seen little bits of this on YouTube, but it was such a nightmare trying to watch it on YouTube. I thought, yeah, let's just ask for the DVD. I got Mary Poppins from my grandma as well. So I'm trying to build up my collection of Disney movies, and I don't really like the newer ones. I like the more classic ones. Not necessarily as old as Mary Poppins, but up to and including things like The Lion King and Aladdin before it all went Pixar. I'm not really into the new stuff like that. So yeah, so that's another one. I got this, Gone Girl. Saw it in the cinema. I thought it was brilliant. I'm a little bit frustrated by the ending, and I won't say too much in case people haven't watched it. I don't really understand why the ending is the way it is. I think I kind of got the sense when I watched the film that I'd missed something really important. But I've got the book and I will read it just to compare, but my sister got me that, which is good. My boyfriend got me this, which I was really hopeful for. I love Monopoly, and we play Monopoly every now and then with my mother-in-law. Every now and then we have a bit of a sort of board game night, and we do that. And I don't play Xbox or PlayStation. I don't know how to game with stuff, but this is the one thing I think I can manage. So I'm looking forward to playing that as well. My mum got me this, which was really nice, which is an organiser, which I needed. It's got a planner, so it's got kind of days of the week. I think there's somebody I subscribe to that really collects diaries and stuff, so she might like this. It's from Paper Chase in the UK. I don't know if there's Paper Chases in Australia or America, but it's a really popular stationery shop here, and I could spend a lot of money there. They do really nice stuff. It's got a notes section, to-do list, which is very apt for me because I'm always writing to-do lists, not that I ever do them. And finally, addresses, which is something I keep meaning to do. Recording addresses would be really helpful. I've got a few pen pals now, so that will come in handy. So that's really good. I'm going to save the stitching things till last. I got lots of vouchers as well. Well, I don't get loads of vouchers. I got 2 or 3 vouchers, which have come really in handy because, as I say, I need some things for holiday. And I'm going to try and treat myself to something when I come back as well. So got this, which I've wanted for a while, number ones. I really like Mariah Carey. Not sure about her as a person, but as an artist, I really like her. So number 1 to infinity, I've got that. And Placebo, Once More With Feeling. I love Placebo, they're one of my favourite bands, and I had this album, which is basically a greatest hits album, when I was a teenager, and I lost it, and I keep wanting to buy it since, and my little sister bought me this, which I was really grateful for. So there is more, there's a lot more actually. This is amazing. My mum got me some really cool stuff. It's Mason Cash. So if I hold it up, so this is a Mason Cash baking bowl that I got. I've wanted one of these stoneware ones for absolutely ages, so I'm really pleased for that. I don't do I'm not a brilliant baker, but I do lots of kind of cupcakes and things, so looking forward to using this. I've wanted one of these for ages, which is a ceramic jug, and it has lovely patterns on it, and it has measurements inside. One of the things I was saying as well is a lot of the recipes that I like are American, and I know in America you use cups. I don't fully understand cups. I know it sounds really stupid, but when you try and convert it to grams, it becomes very complicated because of what type of thing it is, and it doesn't convert very well. So I'd like to actually get cup measurers and things like that that measure things that way. So there's a lot of recipes I'll be able to do then. And that's a flour shaker, which is really nice. I'm really grateful for that. And she got me a little spatula as well to go with it. So I really liked them, and I can't wait to use them. My sister got me some really nice Bayliss and Harding bath foam and shower gel, which was really lovely. I like baths rather than showers, and I use that stuff all the time. So last bag, I got this book, which I've wanted to get for ages, which is Fast Food Nation by Eric Schlosser. And it's not about necessarily what you think it about. It's not so much about obesity and that kind of stuff. It's more to do with scientific studies into the behaviour that has arisen out of which has been linked to some of the ingredients in our food. It's kind of a reflection on our fast food culture and how that extends to the other ways that our society started to become organised and that kind of thing. And it comes recommended from a good friend who said I must read it. So I've wanted that for ages. So I will give you a review when I've done. Now leave that till the end. That's a stitchy one. I wasn't going to show you this because this is a bit depressing, but this is something that I'm really interested in, and I want to be really clear that I'm not interested in it from a voyeuristic point of view. I'm interested in it from a respectful point of view, that this is something that people have had to go through and it's horrendous, but I am very interested in how these things happen and what can be learnt from them. And this is a book about the Cleveland kidnappings by Amanda Berry and Gina DeJesus, and it's a memoir of their survival and what they went through. I watched a really interesting documentary about it where they seem to be very well adjusted and to have really been able to reflect on what that time, how they got through, and I really admire them, and it's just something that I wanted to read. So I'm always aware that when people see reading books like that, there's a lot of people out there that unfortunately just read things like that to get some kind of thrill or entertainment from it, and that's not why I'm reading it. So I didn't want you to think I'd asked for a horrendous book like that for my birthday just because I wouldn't want you to think that anyway. This box here is lovely. This is from Lush. Again, if you don't know Lush, Lush is a really popular smellies company in the UK. They do lots of soaps and things. I won't bore you with everything that's in it, but basically it comes in a box and these things come out, and there's kind of different bath bombs and stuff in it. So my mum got me that. And I've got another box from them as well. This is lovely. My mum is very crafty, as I said, and I don't think I've ever really shown you particular stuff that she's done, but she made me this apron, and it's got Vicky on it, and yeah, she sewed this for me, so it's really lovely, and it's colour coded with my blue cooking stuff. Last couple of bits before I get onto the stitchy things, I got this kind of scarf, which is really nice, which I will be taking with me to Catalonia. And finally a really lovely dress, summer dress. In case you think I'm really spoiled and my family are really rich, they're really not. We don't have loads of money, and although my mum buys lots of lovely presents. They're not from like really posh kind of shops or anything. I'm not some kind of spoilt brat. It's just she likes to do it, and it's, you know, some of them are from like Sainsbury's and Tesco's and stuff, but yeah, she likes to do that for me, so I'm very lucky. So the stitching things that I thought you would be interested in, so I got kind of 3 main things. So first of all, I got this, which is really cool, Subversive Cross Stitch. It's by Julie Jackson, and it's, I don't know, let's find some good examples. I will let it speak for itself. Let me find you some good ones. This is kind of my sense of humour. I'm trying to find the best. I'll show you one more. That's cool. So that's one of my boyfriend's presents to me. He got me some patterns from Etsy, which one of them is massive. One of them is a really huge Disney one, which I don't even know if I can show you properly. It's amazing. I am going to say I'm conscious that there has been a lot of discussion lately about copyright. As far as I can, I found things from my wish list where they have made a, what would you call it? They've made a statement on their website that they have had the express permission of the artists involved. I'm still not 100% convinced that that's the case for Disney, because whenever I've looked into Disney, the only official charts that I can find are ones that are the Disney Dreams collection by Thomas Kincaid, and I've never heard of any other official ones being commissioned. So I do remain sceptical, but I go on the basis of what the website says, but I'm aware that, you know, you can't 100% know, and there are some real issues with Etsy in terms of how it regulates that. But this was on my wish list. It was from a website that claimed that it uses consent, so I hope they do. I just hope they do, that's all. This is a cool one from Stitching Addiction, which is cool. It's quite abstract. This was one that I really wanted for ages. It made me laugh. And I can't really show this one because it's basically just the thing, but that's funny as well. And then the final thing that I'm really excited about, and I couldn't believe it when I got it, is from my mum. So I told my mum knew that I wanted cross stitch stuff for my birthday, and she doesn't really do, she does little kits, but she's not really as into it as I am. So she did ask me for some kind of guidance. So I basically kind of gave her access to my Etsy wish list, and also mentioned to her about Gecko Rouge being a really good company in terms of being able to buy a full kit. Slightly less hassle than Heaven and Earth, although probably a bit more expensive, because you can just get it all here in the UK, bundled up in a kit and kind of delivered within a couple of days. But I thought I would show you, you know how obsessed I am with Omri Koresh artwork and designs, and it's the Hatter. Don't know if you can see that properly. It's quite shiny, but there you go. I'm really pleased. It's such a shame it doesn't really give it justice, but it's got some, it's just, I haven't even opened this yet. It is so new. It's definitely the same, if not bigger size than the other Heaven and Earth design that I have. So I have a feeling that this is something that I'm not going to be able to do straight away, but it's something really cool to have in my stash that I can do as and when I'm able to, and that gives you some idea of how many threads are in it. I don't even know. I've got it on Magic Guide DMC, which would make it 25 count, which makes it 13.2 times 16.72 inches. So that's still a pretty big design, so I'm looking forward to doing that, and I always stitch over one as well, so yeah, so that's that. So I've got some really amazing presents, and as you can see I've got a lot of stuff to play around with. So my real kind of New Year's resolution for my age, for my birthday, is to really start using things that I've already got at home to entertain me and to not keep buying. And it goes for stitching, but it also goes for other things like DVDs and books and stuff. I've got so much stuff here that I don't need to keep buying more things. So that's one of my real kind of areas where I'm trying to kind of make an effort now, is to not spend money needlessly, really. And I always love birthdays because, as I say, I'm very lucky. I do get a lot of stuff bought for me, and it gives me a kind of period of time where I can really save money because I'm just holed up kind of looking at my stuff. I am hoping to take some stitching on holiday, which brings me on to the next part, which was just going to be a quick thing about what my plans are for stitching. So, as I said, I haven't had a lot of time, and I do feel like I'm a little bit behind where I wanted to be with some of my projects. I'd like to bring some out to my friend's wedding in Kefalonia, because there's going to be a couple of chill out days where it's just me and Adam kind of not doing an awful lot. So I think I'm going to bring my Mirabilia, because I think it's quite portable in the folder that I use for it, and if I get some done, great, and if I don't, I don't. Bigger projects like the Omri Koresh design I just showed you, my Heaven and Earth, I'm really putting them on hold into the time of the year when things get a bit less crazy, which will probably be after August, which ties in nicely for when we move into the house. We should be moving in September, and I'm hoping that by October we'll be out of that initial phase of unpacking and having things to do every 5 minutes, and I'll actually get a bit of time. One of the things I'm really looking forward to about having our own house is being able to, if I want to, dominate the kitchen table or dominate the living room and just stitch, which is something that I don't get to do at the moment. I actually find myself kind of crouching over the bed, or there's nowhere really in the 2 rooms that me and my boyfriend have where I have very good light. The lighting is terrible. Where I have very good lighting, where I have sufficient space for everything. So half the reason why I lose so many needles is I'm just balancing things on piles of rubbish that we've got kind of, you know, packed up for the move. So it's not ideal. And the thought of being able to, you know, turn the lamp on, turn the TV on, sit on my own sofa in my own living room, and do it, really can't wait for that. So looking forward to it. And looking forward to the chance to make some real progress. I'm going to be trying to spend a lot more time at home and not be out so much as well, so it will be something that I can do when my boyfriend's in the same room doing something else, and it just feels like it will help us spend time together as well in a weird way, even though I'll be doing that. At the moment, if I want to do it, there's usually not enough space for him to do something like gaming and for me to do cross-stitch in the same room. Whereas when we have our own house, we'll have a little bit of space for that, which will be really nice. And one of the things about my new house will be that it's got this lovely, I have to try and send you a photo, show you a photo at some point, it's got a lovely kind of inbuilt desk into the bay window at the front of the property, in our main bedroom. And I'm going to use that as kind of a crafting desk, because it's not really big enough to be a computer desk, and we have a tiny little study room downstairs anyway. So I'm going to use that as my crafting area, and it's just really a really nice coincidence that it's got that inbuilt into it, so that'll be really nice. Okay, so next onto the next bit, which is, as I say, I think this is really probably quite old now, but I was catching up on Carolyn's videos the other day, and she was doing a stitching tag called Stitching Style, which was by somebody called Pam. And if you go to Carolyn Mazzio's channel, you can watch her video, and she also links to the original video, which I have to admit I haven't had a chance to watch yet, so I'm sorry Pam, I will. But I thought I would get on and do the stitching tag now, because I'm aware I didn't have much to tell you about my own progress, so I thought it would be some interesting questions. And then I will shut up and let you go. So let's start. So number one was, what is your favourite fabric? So I have to admit, I've not really had that much experience of different types of fabric really. I've worked on Ada, even weave and linen. I don't really know what Jobelan is. I haven't worked on any other stuff. I know what my favourite fabric isn't. The more and more I've worked with linen and even weave, I dislike Ada more and more, and that's nothing against people that like it. I really think it's just down to a preference. I can't really, I think what it is the fact that the holes are more visible, because with even weave obviously everything's more tightly packed and you choose whether to stitch over one or over two, but it's not so prominent when you're looking at it that you can see where the holes are. I think there's something about the texture of even weave and linen which feels, linen is actually quite rigid like Ada when you first work with it, but over time it kind of softens, and I like the feel that most even weave fabrics are quite kind of soft. Ada always feels a bit awkward for me, so I've really gone off that, and where I can I try to avoid using that now. I think if I had to pick, I'd probably pick even weave for an all-round, yeah, you know, that's what I like. It's simple, but it also has a nice kind of feel to it. But I think that things look very impressive on linen. All I would say about linen is it doesn't suit every design. I think it depends. My opinion is that generally, unless it's a more traditional design, linen doesn't suit everything. But it's been really interesting working on it with the Mirabilia piece. So yeah, that's that. The second question was, do you use a hoop or frame? And the answer is neither. I never have really got on with hoops. I find them more trouble than they're worth. I find them very fiddly. I find that they restrict me. I don't know, I'm not, for me, I just prefer to get on. Like when I want to stitch, I prefer to get on, and I don't, it's laziness, I'm sure it is, but I don't like fiddling around with things a lot, so I'm not a great one for all sorts of tools. I have thought about trying out a hoop, one of the very big hoops for larger projects, because I am aware that it makes it easier to hold it when you're working on an area. I do have a frame, as I said, I do have a necessaire frame, I think it's called. It's completely packed away, ready for use with my Heaven and Earth design. Even that, when I first used it, I thought, wow, this is brilliant, this has revolutionised the way that I stitch, and it has, in the sense that you can really be quite neat, and I think it's essential for things like Heaven and Earth and Gecko Rouge designs to use a frame. I honestly don't think it would be possible to do it in hand. It's such big pieces of work, you just couldn't. But I guess what that takes away is the experience of being able to do it. And I mean, you have two different stitching projects really. You have projects like Heaven and Earth where you can put it in a frame, but you have to really concentrate on it, and you can't really do anything else at the same time. Or you have stitching in hand, smaller projects which you could watch some TV while doing. For me, I prefer not to use hoops and frames unless I actually need to. I am aware that in some situations they make them easier, but they're not really for me. I like scrunching things up and having to do the ironing at the end when they're all done. Number 3 is, do you use a stand or just hold your... Sorry, I've written these down in my own handwriting and I can't read the third question now. Do you use a stand or just hold your frame? Oh, I see. So when you're working on a square frame, do you use a stand? If I use a frame, I put it on a stand normally. So as I say, I only really use frames for bigger pieces, and if they're that big, I'll have a stand as well. So yeah, normally attach them to the stand. Number 4, what is your favourite time to stitch? That's a really interesting question, because I really can't concentrate on cross-stitching when I'm in certain moods or certain situations. So for me, I don't get a lot of stitching done during the week because I'm just not relaxed enough to do it, and I've just got work on my mind. And in all honesty, after I've cooked dinner and then I'm getting things ready for the next day, I'm just not in the mindset to really sit down and do any. So my favourite time to stitch is usually on a Saturday or a Sunday, so on the weekend, when I have more time to myself, when I have a bit of space. That's when I prefer to stitch, is when I feel relaxed and when I know, because I like to stitch in big blocks rather than small kind of 1 hour slots, because I don't get much done in an hour. So I like to kind of spend time when I've got a free weekend and I can just sit there and go over it really. Do you use a printed paper copy of your chart or digital? Printed all the way. I have tried digital ones before in the past, but it doesn't work for me. And it's funny because for my age, everything should be really digital and stuff, but it's even things that I do at work. If I have to work on a document and I need to read stuff in the document, I have to print it out. And I'm very much like that. I like to be able to use like an actual highlighter. It's just something about it which seems to work better for me. So I kind of quite early on decided that digital doesn't really work for me, but maybe in the future if I was working on a complex design it might make more sense. So I'm not averse to trying new things, but for the moment I prefer a printed copy. Are you a floss sticker? Yes. I don't really know how people manage without it. I know some people have some kind of threading tools or just know certain techniques, but yeah, that's the only way I've ever learned, and it's what I do to get it in the needle. So number 7 is, do you hoard or buy supplies as needed? I hoard kits and I hoard projects. I wouldn't say I hoard things like fabric and threads. I don't tend to get those things independently of other stuff. I think the only time I've done that is when I got some offcuts of Ada in a sort of bargain pack at one of the craft shows, and I occasionally use that for small projects I do for birthday cards and stuff. But to be honest, no, I hoard kits. I've got quite a big stash of kits, but I don't hoard random bits of thread really. The only kind of random bits I've got are things that are left over from projects. So I guess that's my one saving grace, I suppose. What is your favourite floss? I think floss is talking about thread, because I think American people say floss. So what is your favourite floss? I'm not sure if that question means like silks or whatever. I mean, I am going to go with, what make do I prefer, and I will say that in my limited experience I've preferred anchor threads. I think there's something about the feel of them which is always a bit nicer to me. I like the way that the colour comes out on them a little bit better. Sometimes I find DMC, the darker colours, which I know other people have mentioned, don't give very good coverage, and a lot of that's to do with the dyeing process, but I don't find that to be so much of an issue with anchor. I've used Madeira threads before but really didn't get on with them. I actually found them quite difficult. I found them can't think what the word is. Like when you're working with metallic threads and they kind of start getting a bit scraggly, I kind of found that with Madeira. So yeah, I would say anchor, and I haven't really experimented with silks, but I'm sure from looking at them I'd really like them as well. Number 9, are you a serial stitcher or do you have a WIP at a time? Well, I think I've changed. I think I used to have about 5 or 6 things on the go, and you could still say that because I've got things like UFOs sitting in my stash that I haven't done, but actually they're not things that I'm thinking, I'm actively working on. In terms of things that I'm actively working on, I've really only got one, which is the Mirabilia, or 2 if you count the Disney Dreams. And I think that's been a progression, as I've said in other videos, that's been a progression of becoming a more experienced stitcher from actually finishing projects. It's kind of made me realise the value of sticking with one thing at a time. So actually, I wouldn't say I'm a serial stitcher. I'm an ex-serial stitcher, I think. 10. Do you have more FFOs or UFOs? Well, my understanding of FFOs, which is fully finished objects, I believe, is that people are talking about when you turn them into cushions or you make sure that they're framed. I don't, because I'm not very confident with other types of sewing, I don't tend to do things like finish them up into anything other than frame them. I don't have finished things that are not framed. I do tend to kind of frame them and send them on to the person I've made them for straight away once I am finally done. So I'd say I have more UFOs because I've got to have at least kind of 5-6 kits now that I've started and not completely finished, and some of that has been alleviated by me sending things on to subscribers, which I did last month, which has helped me feel a bit more like my stash is cleansed now. Do you watch TV while stitching? I do. As I say, if I was doing something like a Heaven and Earth design, I would probably put something very kind of backgroundy on. I wouldn't really be concentrating on it because I wouldn't be able to. If I'm stitching a more regular project like a Mirabilia, I'll put something on, and it's normally something that I don't have to really concentrate on but that I can still enjoy. So I like all sorts of things really, but usually some sort of documentary or film or something like that. Do you mostly stitch alone? What do you stitch? Sorry. Do you mostly stitch alone, or do you ever get together with someone to stitch? Well, I have. There's a small group of friends I have that we meet up. We used to call it a craft club. It kind of disintegrated because people were busy all the time, and we were trying to do the last Sunday of every month, and that didn't really happen. So instead what we do is we just meet up ad hoc, and usually with one or two of us. So my particular friend that I think I spend the most time with is a friend I've got called Emma, who we go to each other's houses and we kind of have evenings where we just have a bit of dinner and then do a few hours of stitching. It's a shame I don't really get to stitch around other people that much. Occasionally my cousin will be working on something crochet and I'll sit with her. As I say, my mum's family are all quite crafty, so when I go to my grandma's some Sundays, which is our kind of family tradition, sometimes my family will be stitching. I do prefer to kind of do it as part of a group because I really find it interesting looking at what other people are working on. I'm happy to do it on my own, but it is nice to stitch with other people. Probably don't get as much done, but it is nice. But I don't unfortunately get much of a chance to do that because the people that I know that are interested in stitching are a minority really. So I find that most of my interaction comes from watching these videos and being part of, since I've been part of the YouTube community, I've really felt kind of embraced in a community that I don't really have in my own kind of friendship circles most of the time. So because although I have crafty friends, I also don't really get to see those people loads, so it's been really nice to become a part of the scene on YouTube. Do you like to experiment and alter things with your charts, or do you just stick to what is written? I do tend to stick with it as it is. Occasionally I've changed very minor details on smaller projects, but I'm a bit of a follower, not a leader. I don't tend to go out of my way to rechart things or to think outside of the box in terms of what sort of threads I'm using. I really admire people that do, because I have seen kits before and thought, oh, I'm not sure about that colour, I wonder why they've chosen to do that. But I guess it's partly a confidence thing that I worry, especially with a larger project, that I'll ruin it if I change something. So I tend to just go with what's there, and I find that less confusing, especially when I'm sort of leaving it weeks in between picking it up sometimes. But I think that that will be a natural progression of the next stage of my stitching, will be me starting to look at how I can adapt patterns. So I wouldn't rule it out. I think that might be something I'll do in the future. Do you bobbinate your floss or not? No, I don't. I'm sure that's no surprise to any of you that I don't. I do want to start being more organised with my threads, because especially if I start this and it's got God knows how many colours in it, I am going to need to start organising it better. So I have seen those kind of bobbin boxes with the plastic bobbins, and I would like to do that. So I probably will for that project, but right now I don't tend to. I kind of use these kind of, I get cardboard and I punch holes in it and use that. Do you start a project in the middle of your fabric or in the corner? Well, I always, just because I never knew any different really, I never thought to do it another way. I've always in the past started in the centre, but actually the last couple of times I've done a project, I started my I started the Mirabilia in the middle because it kind of seemed to make sense. But when you've got a real kind of intricate pattern like Heaven and Earth or Gecko Rouge ones, I can definitely see the value of starting in the left-hand corner. And I feel like I'm more confident in knowing that I worry about the measurements and that I've got enough space, but actually I'm confident now that you're always given a lot more fabric for the outside than you really need. And I can do that kind of simple maths to kind of work out how much space I've got at the edges. So now I feel confident that I could start at the left hand corner, and that would probably be my preference ongoing, because I think it's more logical. I think it's easier to keep track of what you've done and where you've been. Not in the sense of the parking technique, but just in terms of tracking it grid by grid. So yeah, I think that would probably be what I do with projects from now on. Number 15, do you start a project? Oh, sorry, no. Number 16, do you have a WIP rotation? Well, as I said earlier, I was thinking about having a WIP rotation because at one point, even, you know, when I started doing YouTube videos, I was still at the stage where I was working on up to kind of 4 or 5 things at once. But I made the decision that I could have 2 things more or less going at the same time, realistically, and other things would be put on hold completely while I was doing them. So it allows me to make a switch when I get bored of something, which I think is a natural part of the process. But it also means that I'm not spreading myself too thin. So I wouldn't call it a rotation. Because it's not as formalised as that. I don't really decide on particular kind of time frames for how long I'll work on something. I just kind of work on more or less one thing at a time and give myself the option to switch if I want to. Number 17, do you use a timekeeper? I don't. It's funny because I was watching Carolyn's video of this tag, and she was talking about an app that she uses that she's found quite helpful, and that's something that I might look into. Up until now, I've not been overly concerned with worrying about how much time I've spent on things. I mean, I always kind of assume, you know, I know in terms of the difference between the start and the finish time, how many months it's been kind of floating about for. But I think, as Carolyn said, it would actually be quite nice to be able to tell people accurately how long it took, because you do lose sight of that when you've worked on something. You know, you could think, oh, well, that took me 2 years to complete, but actually it didn't. It probably took you about a year worth of stitching time. It's just that you had gaps in your life while you were doing other things. So I might look into using an app of some description. So but at the moment, no, I don't. I just kind of work on it when I can and have a very rough idea in my head of how long I've spent on it. Number 18, do you use the parking technique? I think I've mentioned this several times in other videos. I'm not a fan of the parking technique. I can definitely see how it helps other stitchers, so I'm not knocking it at all because I think it's a really useful tool. I think it's to do with how your brain works and how you think about things. For me, it unnecessarily complicates a process for me, and I don't find it particularly helpful, and it's just another thing for me to worry about. And I feel that it wouldn't help me in the way that I stitch. I think there are other people who are probably very organised, much more organised in their stitching than me, that it would really, really help. But it's not something I think I would get the hang of, and it's not something I think I would find particularly helpful for me. So I don't do it. I don't make any conscious effort to stitch in a certain way other than what seems right for that project, and I certainly am not very organised, as you know, so I don't really put as much thought into these things as I probably should do. Number 19, second to last question, do you keep your orts, which I don't know what that stands for actually, but I know what it is. It's the kind of offcuts of threads that you use, you know, when you snip at the end. I don't really know. I have seen projects where people have kind of kept them in jars and stuff, and I was going to do that because I thought it looked really cool, and I was going to collect jars because it's really cool, like some people stuff things with their orts because it reminds them, you know, they know that that piece was made with from other pieces that, you know, they've got all the memories of stitching. But one of the main reasons I don't, and it seems so silly because they don't take up a lot of room, but we're really cramped for space, and my boyfriend probably wouldn't particularly appreciate me having yet another jar or yet another pot of stuff that I didn't really need to have lying around, so I don't at the moment. But I think in the future, when I have a bit more space, I would probably have some jars and make some kind of feature out of them. So probably in the future I would. And I've definitely seen some really nice things that people have made as well. And last but not least, 20, do you like a snack or a drink while you're stitching? I probably should say no, but I do like it. I'm a bit careful to not eat things like chocolate or drink tea too nearby, because those are two really, I have got a couple of tea stains on some other projects when I wasn't really looking, and I'm a very clumsy person. I'm always kind of knocking things over and stuff. So yeah, I probably do try and be a bit careful. I mean, what I'll do is I'll have a snack, but I will completely put it to one side, have the snack, wash my hands, and then carry on. And if there's one, I mean, I am not a role model for doing things in an organised or neat and tidy way, or a particularly clean way with my stitching. But my one rule is I do try to have clean hands when I stitch, because it's so easy for things to become discoloured and horrible and yucky. And I know that you get all this information online about how you can get stains out of your projects, but not all of them are as effective as they make themselves out to be. And actually, I've had times when I haven't been able to get a stain out, and it's been a little bit obvious when you look at it for too long. So I try and be quite careful now. So that's me, that's my stitching style tag, and I would invite you guys to follow on the tag. I will post the list of 20 questions. If you don't mind, Caroline, I'll copy and paste from your video description. So that's me. It's been, I can tell it's coming up for the hour mark now, so I think it's probably time to stop talking. But once again, apologies for how long it took me to get a video out, and I'm hoping that it won't always be this long. The next few weeks it might be a month till my next one, but then after that I'd like to get back into the routine of roughly every 2 weeks. I'm catching up on all you guys' videos and really looking forward to that. Thank you so much to people subscribing, watching, commenting, and as I say, bear with me if I'm really slow to reply, because a lot of the time I can't see where the comments have gone or can't see the notification, but I will reply as soon as I can. But thank you for watching. I'm Messy Stitcher Vicky, and I'll see you soon. Bye.